Hey there! Welcome to the channel. If you're ready to grow your money and mindset, don't forget to subscribe. Let's begin. You've probably had that moment, the one where you scroll through social media or meet up with an old friend and suddenly it hits you. That guy from school, the one who barely passed his exams, who joked through classes and never seemed to take life seriously, he's now incredibly successful. He's not just surviving, he's thriving. He's built businesses, owns assets, travels when he wants, and seems to carry no stress on his shoulders. And here you are, diligent, disciplined, the top scorer in school, the one who took extra courses, collected degrees, followed the path exactly as it was laid out. Yes, life's decent. You have a career, respect, and stability, but it's also filled with pressures, EMIs, deadlines, and that nagging feeling that something's missing. And then it hits you again. How? How did the kid who didn't care about homework end up building wealth faster than you? How is he now financially free while you're still navigating the maze? It feels unfair. Maybe even frustrating. You worked harder. You played by the rules. But they played a different game. They followed their gut, took risks, failed early, learned fast, and mastered something school never taught: how money truly works. That realization doesn't just surprise you, it shakes you. Because somewhere deep down, you know, you were taught to earn, they learned to grow. Let's dive deeper and analyze. All of us want to be rich. But how is the puzzle? There are two main paths that lead to riches. We study and study harder, get better education and knowledge, work hard and do overtimes only to climb up the ladder as fast as possible. As income increases, we become rich. This is one path to riches. The other path to riches is to be an entrepreneur. This is also a path with its own difficulties and many tend to lose in the process. But once successful, will lead to riches. So these two paths to riches is what is explained in detail in this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki didn't set out to become a guru or a best-selling author. He set out to solve a riddle that haunted him as a child. Why did some people who worked hard all their lives still struggle, while others, who seemed to break the rules, thrive? His journey, and the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, began not with money, but with confusion. With a boy standing between two towering voices in his life. One said, "Go to school, get good grades, get a safe job." The other said, "Don't work for money, make money work for you." Imagine that for a moment. A child being pulled between two truths, both spoken by people he deeply respected, both filled with certainty, but both leading to entirely different destinies. That emotional tug-of-war, that longing to understand what actually works in the real world, is the seed from which this book was born. The real father, Poor Dad, wasn't poor in intelligence or love. He was a brilliant man, a PhD, a public servant, someone who believed passionately in the power of education. But his life was also filled with struggle. Every paycheck was already spoken for. There was pride in what he did, yes, but there was also quiet suffering. The stress of bills. The weight of debt. The kind of emotional exhaustion we see in so many people today who do everything right and still feel trapped. The ones who stay in jobs they hate because the mortgage demands it. The ones who teach their kids to aim for stability, not because it's the best choice, but because it's the safest. Before we dive deeper, make sure to subscribe, that way, you'll always be updated with the latest insights. And then there was Rich Dad, the father of his childhood best friend, a man who owned businesses, who invested, who looked at life not with fear but with curiosity and control. He didn't have all the answers, and he didn't wrap his lessons in gold. In fact, many of his lessons were uncomfortable. He made Robert work for free in his store to teach him about real-life value. He gave vague answers to provoke deeper thinking. He taught with silence and challenges. But what he was really offering, beneath the surface, was freedom. The freedom to choose how to live, not just how to survive. As Robert grew, the teachings of both fathers clashed louder in his mind. One taught him to be an employee, the other taught him to be an owner. One said, "The love of money is the root of all evil," the other said, "The lack of money is the root of all evil." These weren't just philosophical differences, they were roads that forked further apart with every life decision. And the boy had to choose. That choice wasn't easy. After serving in the military as a helicopter gunship pilot, Robert did what many veterans do. He tried to settle into a corporate job. But the suit felt like a cage. The office walls pressed in. He knew he didn't belong. So he stepped into the world of entrepreneurship. And that world, brutal, chaotic, unpredictable, chewed him up and spit him out more than once. He started a wallet company. It failed. He invested in real estate. He went broke. He launched educational seminars. They flopped before they flew. He lived through the kind of financial wipeout that would terrify most of us, and yet, he didn't give up. Why? Because he had internalized Rich Dad's most powerful message: failure is part of the process. It's how you learn to win. That's why this book isn't a manual filled with stock tips or real estate shortcuts. It's a mindset transplant. It doesn't just tell you what to do, it tries to reshape how you think, and it matters more now than ever. Because today, the world is full of stories that echo the two dads. There are millions of people following the poor dad path, graduates with fancy degrees, crushed under mountains of student loan debt, working jobs they hate just to stay afloat. You hear about engineers with master's degrees driving Uber on weekends. Teachers working 2 jobs to feed their families. Honest, hardworking people who did everything society told them to do, and still find themselves one unexpected bill away from crisis. Then, there are those who took a different route. The freelance designer who built her own agency online. The high school dropout who learned about investing on YouTube and bought his first rental property at 21. The mom who started a side hustle on Etsy and scaled it into a full-time business. These aren't just outliers anymore, they're examples of a new way to live. A way that's rooted in financial education, risk-taking, and a rejection of the belief that trading time for money is the only way. But it's not easy. The system isn't built to teach you this. Schools don't show you how to build assets, they teach you how to be obedient. We're conditioned to fear money, to avoid conversations about wealth, to confuse consumerism with success. And that's exactly what Kiyosaki set out to dismantle. He wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad not just as a book, but as a wake-up call. A bridge between generations. A challenge to the myths that keep people stuck. He wanted to empower the everyday person, the father who wants to teach his child about investing, the mother who dreams of leaving her job, the young adult searching for more than just a paycheck, and the emotional punch of it all. Robert knew what it was like to be broke. He knew shame. He knew fear. He knew that sinking feeling in your stomach when you realize the path you're on might not lead where you thought it would. But he also knew the thrill of taking control. The joy of seeing passive income cover your bills. The quiet pride of knowing you don't owe your time to anyone. And that's what he wanted to share. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is more than a book. It's a story. A battle. A legacy. It dares you to look at your life and ask, am I living out someone else's script? Or am I ready to write my own? And in that moment, maybe, just maybe, you stop being the confused child between 2 voices, and start becoming someone else's rich dad. Your support means the world to us. Click subscribe and be part of our journey. Thank you.